Canada. Hello, United States of America. Greetings to every single human being all over the planet. My name is KevinJJohnston. This is the Kevin J. Johnston Show, where we're going to talk a little bit about property rights, native rights, and willful ignorance. Yes, we've had some great conversations. That would be me and the crew, privately, of course. And now our private conversations about willful ignorance are going to be made public. And we're going to ask all of you to throw some commentary in the room because, well, not everybody agrees with all of us all the time, even though I think I'm right all the time. In fact, I am. Shh, don't tell anybody. Listen, folks, we're going to have some fun tonight, but we are going to cover willful ignorance because it is a very destructive part of our behavior. It's not a good scene. And we will explain what willful ignorance is. We will cite examples, and then we will cover why it's bad and what all of you can do about it. I will apologize also in advance. I've been in bed for 5 days, sick. So my voice is probably going to stop working about halfway through. If that's the case, Ed promised to do a striptease tonight and take over if necessary. Ed is smiling in the room, and he's unbuttoning his jersey right now. Ladies, you're in for a show. All right. Chris Sky is going to be joining us also to give us an update on how the Toronto mayor run is going. He's not quite here yet, but we expect that he'll be joining us very, very shortly. And for those who did want to maybe discuss a couple of quick things. Sorry, I'm thirsty here. God, I hate being sick. I really do. No, it's not COVID, by the way. But we know that Tucker Carlson is no longer with Fox News. Now, some people say he was trying to quit for 4 years. Where do you get that from? Did you speak to Tucker Carlson? It's amazing how the rumor mill just fires up on its own. People want to seem important, so they'll make stuff up. Does anybody really know that Tucker Carlson hated his job and struggled to go in there and just don't want to do this anymore? I always thought he was having fun. So that's probably not correct. I think it's more accurate that because Disney owns Fox and Disney has blatantly stated they are going to stay woke. They lost $192 million in the last quarter of last year, but they're fully prepared to keep going broke by staying woke, which means that they have to get rid of Tucker Carlson because he is never going to be woke. And he has stated that he, along with the rest of us, all would like to see various medical agencies be in prison for what they did, namely killing Americans. That would be his perspective. I would say, well, they killed Canadians too, so let's see them all rot. Well, boom, he's out. And of course, AOC, that Cortez maniac that somehow got voted in twice in New York State, came out and stated that she's very happy about this and that silencing people is a good thing and it works, and she'll keep fighting to make sure that people like Tucker Carlson and you and me and everyone else simply has nowhere that we can have any particular type of voice. We have Rumble working tonight, folks. If you're looking for DLive, I know there's a problem there now tonight, so Derek is working on that. And Facebook seems to give us a difficult time. So if everybody could please share this video out everywhere. If you're on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube chat or wherever else, go ahead and toss this thing out there for the world to see. Because, well, Zuckerberg sucks. Did I just lose my camera? I lost my camera. We're losing everything here. Hold on. Derek, have I lost my camera?
Yes, you've lost your camera, and there's more than your camera that you're losing. If you think I'm going to start stripping down for free while I'm sober, ain't happening.
I absolutely believe that you're going to start stripping down for free.
No, it's got to be money involved, and I got to be drunk.
Well, ladies, if you want to see Ed half naked tonight, you're going to have to start donating. As always, we will be doing the gift cards again. So there are the gift cards to that you can grab in Canada. You can have Amazon, Esso, the Ultimate Dining Card, or Cineplex. In America, you can have Walmart, Best Buy, Burger King, or Whole Foods. There could only be one winner, everybody. So donate $2 or more, just $2 or more for your opportunity to win a gift card tonight. There's the email address in the top left corner. freedomreport.ca at gmail.com. You can also go to my personal website, KevinJJohnston.me, and donate there. We got Stefanos just joined the crew tonight. He's wearing a god-awful hat. What are you wearing? Dude.
See, that's a male stripper hat. Get him to take his clothes off.
All right, I'm going. Here we go, boys. Look at
I'm turning off the camera, and Stefanos goes bye-bye, just like that. Keep your clothes on, Steph.
We'll keep it PG.
All right, so we know that Chris Sky will be joining us. He's not here yet, so I want to bring our first guest on a little bit early. Johnny Hawk. Johnny, welcome to the show. We appreciate you being here. We know that you have been staying on beaches in Ontario in a teepee to bring attention to the fact that these beaches are not private property and are not owned by a couple of rich individuals here and there. Johnny, I'm sorry to do this to you. Chris just got here. So do you mind just holding on for about 6 more minutes? We'll get you right back in. Thank you. All right, Chris Sky, thanks for joining us, pal. How's the mayor run? Go ahead.
It's going better than I could have possibly imagined. We're getting an incredible amount of support. We just finished up at an event at Jack Astor's in Scarborough. It was thrown by a Toronto community group where they invited all the mayoral candidates, and a lot of candidates actually showed up. I was there. Anthony Furey was there. Reginald Tull was there. Mitzi Hunter was there. Even Brad Bradford showed up about 2 hours late with his pronouns in his profile and his limiting comments on his profile because he can't even he pretends to be a public servant, but he can't even answer people's questions or allow us to comment on his social media. I thought that was amusing. And but it was a really good event. There was about 50 to 100 people all in Scarborough that were all wanted to know what we had to say. We all got 2 minutes to speak. Oh shit! I left my sunglasses in some friend of mine's car.
Uh-oh.
Hold on one sec. I'll just tell him I'll get it tomorrow. Don't worry, I'm gonna see him tomorrow. I'll get it tomorrow. Cheers.
Yeah,
They're trying to tell me about that. They're trying to tell me that they still have my glasses. Give me one sec. I'm gonna tell them I'll get it tomorrow. Oh, never mind. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.
Never go with Chris.
So I got. Oh, I lost you guys.
No, we can hear you.
I know. I just lost the feed. I lost the video.
Yeah, we lost video there. Well, at least the facial expression's okay.
I'm on a live interview, guys. I gotta go. Sorry.
Just click on your browser again. It should start up.
That's what I'm trying to do. Hold on. Sorry about that, guys.
Hey, no worries, man. No worries at all.
So we had some.
I gotta ask. Mitzi Hunter is the former education minister of the province of Ontario. Now, I spoke to her once, and I tell you, Chris, my IQ dropped about 50 points talking to her. What are your thoughts on her?
She literally spent her 2 minutes talking about herself and telling the story about herself and not really giving any information or what she was planning on doing or letting anybody know that she plans on standing up for them. They were all pretty much not a lot of.
Oh, we lost you this time. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Chris. You know, Stefanos, you're the one who's supposed to freeze, not him. Oh, okay. So he'll be right back in. I just heard him talking to Derek there. He'll be right back in. Perfect.
Yeah, so, my
1
freezing...
hour later.
Chris is back.
Sorry about the technical difficulties there, guys.
No, it's all good. So, yeah, we heard you say that everybody that was just talking about themselves and not what they're going to do for the people. Is that pretty much it?
Pretty much it. And the people that did talk about what they were going to do for the people didn't say how they were going to make it happen. They were just saying they were just doing what politicians do, making frivolous promises without any substance. But I was surprised to see that that a lot of the candidates actually showed up, because to me, most of them, it's obvious they don't care about the people they pretend to serve. And for them to actually show up and even pretend was a big deal to me for some of those people.
Well, media-wise, who was there? Were any big name media there?
There was no mainstream media there. I don't know how well known this was. I only found out about the event literally a few hours ago, and I've been having a long day. I had to drive Derek to the airport at 3:30 in the morning, so I've been up since 3 in the morning. Then I had the gym at 7:30 because we had day 2 of our gym. Did you see what happened yesterday at the gym?
No, but I did see what happened to you last week where the cops had you pulled over for an hour or two, just wasting your time and giving you tickets. We saw that.
They pulled me over while I was already pulled over. I pulled over downtown so I could use an ATM machine. And while I was pulled over, I got swarmed by the police like I had just shot 10 people. And they gave me 7 traffic violations, including careless driving, because one of my tires of my Jeep was partially on the curb, which I did because it was the only way to fit my car in the spot, because downtown there's pretty rammed, and I was just looking for a spot to pull over so I could use an ATM, which I did. So for pulling over for 30 seconds, I was charged with 7 different offenses, and they tried to make a big deal out of it, and they even ran a story out of it to try to make me look bad, as always, but it didn't really do much.
And of course, you've got them all in court now too, right? You filed to fight.
Of course, it's gonna be like every other charge they give me. It's gonna go to court and it's gonna get dropped. I even had one of the mayoral candidates go up there and say, at least I never got arrested 26 times. I was like, wow. Trying to get clout by talking about my arrest. How about you talk about how I got arrested 26 times, but all my charges were found not guilty because I've never done anything wrong. I've never committed a crime. I get called a criminal in the media, yet I have no criminal record. So you try to figure that out.
Hey, we already have figured that out, is that they have no substance whatsoever. So they'll talk like high school kids. You know, at least I didn't get bubble gum on the bottom of my shoe. That's all that it is. You know, something I can say, Chris, maybe you agree with me or not, is now that I've run 3 campaigns myself, is everybody over the age of 30 seems to actually be mentally under the age of 12. It's a really childish circle. It's horrible.
In Toronto, you're seeing a lot of that in the political circles, but that's only the people that are normally voters. Like, that's the people, like, if you look at Toronto last election, only 29% of the people voted. Those perpetual voters. So those are the people that have the childlike mindset. That's why they actually will go out and vote, even though they know none of the candidates really represent their own interests. That's why 71% of the people simply didn't vote. They looked at the candidates and they're like, none of these people represent my interests, so why am I going to vote for them? That's the majority mindset. And that's what I said today to everyone when I was speaking. I go, when these candidates try to get your vote, ask them what they did for you the last 3 years. Besides vote to lock you down, vote to close your business, vote to put a mask on your kids, vote to put a jab in your arms, vote to keep you on all those mandates while they're giving themselves pay raises and while they're exempting themselves from everything. And then those people have the audacity to go up on a stage and to tell you to give them more power over your life. It's actually sickening to me. And if you saw, we started another campaign event that no other candidate, mayoral or otherwise, has ever done. Every single day we're going to a different gym, because to me, fitness is really important. You know, I love to train. So every day at 7:30 a.m., we're at a different LA Fitness. And yesterday we went to the LA Fitness on Eglinton, and there was a fire alarm that went off. And the firefighters actually showed up to the gym to deal with the fire alarm. And when they finished and they were walking out of the gym, they saw me. And they're like, oh, my God, it's Chris Sky. And I said, oh, my God, it's firefighters in the gym. What are you doing here? So they came over and asked for a picture, and I happened to be giving out my shirts to everyone at the gym as part of the campaign. So I gave the 3 firefighters who were on duty one of my shirts each. Their captain actually put it on over his uniform, and they took a picture with me in the gym. Guess what happened? We posted that picture. It went viral as hell, and within 2 hours, the head of the Fire Chiefs Union and one of the highest up fire chiefs in all of Canada was at their fire hall. And they had to go in for a meeting. And guess what they told them in the meeting? They tried to fire every one of those guys that took a picture with me under the guise that they're not allowed to support a political candidate while on duty. Well, guess what? That only applies if it was scripted, if it was part of my campaign, etc. Because they actually searched in the computer and saw that these 3 firefighters were on an official call and they were working in official capacity and simply happened to walk by me by fluke, everything they did was completely legal, completely ethical, completely moral. They were still looking for a way to try to penalize them. So they actually took the investigation further and went on all 3 of those firefighters' social media and tried to find if they had any type of communication with me or any type of even posting my videos or anything. because they were looking for any type of connection where they could make a point to try to make it look like this spontaneous, genuine support from these on-duty firefighters was somehow planned and somehow scripted for my campaign. And if it was, they would have been fired. And one of them has over 20 years on the force. Can you imagine that? Can you believe how sickening our country is? And when I asked them what triggered all of this, I go, because like obviously someone must have called and complained, right? Or otherwise they wouldn't have just showed up. They said other mayoral candidates called City Hall to complain. So that's the kind of candidates we have running for mayor. Candidates that'll call and complain because somebody decided to take a picture with me.
Of course, like I said, I was alluding to the fact that all the candidates are the ones who are 12 years old mentally. I mean, it was amazing how much crying and whining and complaining Bonnie Crombie did when I ran against her in Mississauga. Everything was a complaint. I got a chance to read the email she wrote about me. It's bizarre.
Chris, if you have any contact with those firefighters, tell them to put them in contact with me. I have a lawyer who will sue the union, because there is plenty of case law of unions and people being at work. And, you know, it's their constitutional right to support any candidate. Doesn't matter whether on work at the time they're on duty or not. Does not matter. There's plenty of case law here. They can hold these communist unions accountable. And I say communist unions because OPSU, QP, all of these normal unions are always flying the communist flag, and they're pushing against this stuff. So this.
Well, to be fair, the union didn't do any disciplinary action against them. Their fire hall didn't do any discipline. They didn't get any disciplinary action whatsoever. All they got was a warning that you're not supposed to do something like that. But when they saw and they investigated it, they told them that everything they did was fine. What they did tell them, though, was they had actually invited me to come for dinner at the fire hall. They wanted me to hang out with the guys and meet everybody, and they were told that if they brought me to the fire hall, they would all immediately be terminated. So that they weren't allowed to do that. So instead, I'm gonna be bringing them out for dinner because they showed me such appreciation and support. I could return the favor. So next week, I'm gonna be taking them out as citizens, as civilians. Nobody's gonna know they're firefighters, and I'm gonna be taking them to one of my favorite restaurants because I think they deserve it. I think they're the biggest heroes in the city.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they were disciplined or not. The fact that they went and done what they done, that has now infringed on their rights. So they do have a claim against the union. And it's okay. So I'm going to tell you straight up, what's going on. People who are being elected, unions or whatever, mayors, candidates, whatever. I've run for mayor. I've run in several provincial elections. I've been in politics for over 15 years. Look, bottom line is they can't do this. They can't interfere with these people's rights that they have to support, and the constitutional right to support any candidate. Doesn't matter if it's mayoral, provincial, federal, whatever. They have a claim against them. Bottom line is,
as you know, this is one of their biggest election tactics. You know how many people are afraid to support me? You know how many people are afraid to donate to me because they think they're going to get something like the trucker convoy happen to them? Their bank account will get frozen or something. They literally are doing this on purpose because they want to make people literally afraid to support me. But all it really does is it emboldens people and makes people support me even more because everybody, even the people that don't like me, see this exactly for what it is. Election interference, subversion, manipulation, and it's completely illegal. It's completely immoral. And it actually makes people who don't like me because it gives them a reason. It gives them a reason to understand that they have a dog in the fight and that I'm actually a threat to the establishment. And I'm actually the one that will fight for them and actually the one that will change their lives for the better. People are starting to realize this now. And by the way, we have our grand opening on Friday, April 28th of our wonderful campaign office. We have an award-winning food truck coming to give free food for the first 200 people. We're going to have ice cream for the kids, and no, they don't have to take a vaccine to get it. They can just come and eat it. And we're going to have free drinks and everything going on. Our volunteers are invited. Our supporters are invited. Our donors are invited. I even invited all the other mayoral candidates tonight. We'll see if any of them actually show up to see their constituents and see the people they say they serve. We even challenge other candidates tonight because everyone knows I'm the only candidate that gives my cell phone number out. And when one of the other candidates was challenged to do so, he's like, "Oh, I think that's a great idea. I really respect Rob Ford for doing it, or anyone else who's ready to do it. You can email me."
Chris, so this is the most important thing that everybody that gets elected, I don't give a crap if it's you or any other person, counselor, mayor, whatever. You have staff, and I have been text messaged and emailed over and over the years because these staff think that they run the municipality. That's not the case. Whoever the elected are represent the people, and what they try to do, because they may be, your municipality may be a member of the Canadian Federation of Municipalities, which is ICLEI, which is the United Nations, withdraw that membership immediately. Now, staff, what they will do is they will force you or attempt to force you into implementing UN policy BS. Now, what happens is when mayors and councillors refuse to do it, staff threatens them that they will take them to court. You know what? Go to court, push it in there, because the UN has absolutely no authority in Canada whatsoever. We're a sovereign country, a sovereign people. So if you get anything...
Nobody, let's be real clear. Clearer than crystal clear. Nobody is going to bully me. Nobody is going to manipulate me. Nobody is going to force their agenda on me or the people. I am the stop where this ends. I am the voice of the people. I am the sword of the people. And when they try to tell me that they're going to impose their will upon the people, well, I'm simply going to say, I am the people, period. And they're going to do what I say because my voice is what the people want. It's that simple. And any staff member, any member of my administration, they're going to be a servant of the people, or they're going to be served resignation papers. They're going to be given a choice. You serve the people to the new standard set by me, or you resign right now and we'll replace you with somebody more than happy to do so. That's how my administration is going to go.
Chris, I just want to point out to the public who's watching is that you said, I am the people. Now, I want you to compare that to Louis XVI, who said, I am the state. Chris is not talking about being king. He's talking about being your bodyguard. He's talking about being the guy who takes bullets for you. You have to pay attention to language. So what Chris just said is something that I support unto my last dying breath. Thank you for saying that, Chris. Thank you for being the guy who actually does care.
Kevin, you're missing the point here, too. Even though you said all that stuff, Chris is the voice of the people, because as public servants, they are to do what the people, the will of the people is, not what the will of some unelected Marxist bureaucrat tries to force on them.
Exactly. I do what I'm told by the people I serve. And the people I serve are the citizens of Toronto, not the government, not the World Economic Forum, not the Bilderbergers, not anybody but the people who live in the city. And the people who live in the city want their lives improved. So every decision I am going to make or attempt to make on their behalf is going to be a decision that is going to make their lives better. And it's going to be a decision that they have asked me to implement. And I will follow through every single time.
That we know, because you have followed through on everything you've gone to say so far, Chris. So it's remarkable. Okay, pal. So what's your closing word here? We got to move on to our next guest. What's your
Closing word is
next week, right? Go ahead.
This is the biggest opportunity we have had. When I win in Toronto, it will be the domino effect. It will inspire others to stand up and run, just like I've inspired others to stand up and just say no. And when we start taking back the municipalities and we start getting real change at the ground level, you are going to see Toronto change, the GTA change, Canada change, the US change. The entire world is going to change because people are going to understand it is possible. We are going to reinvigorate a new type of hope that has not been seen in the world for many, many years. Friday, April 28th, come to my office opening, 1430 Birchmount. I can't wait to see you all there. I love you guys. Thanks for having me on. As always, God bless the people of Toronto. I look forward to serving you better and setting a new standard for what a public servant should be. Thank you, everybody.
Chris, we love you too, man. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week for a couple of minutes. All right.
Always.
Take care, boss. We'll see you. Enjoy.
Cheers.
That's the next mayor of Toronto, everybody. Chris Sky. All right. That's fabulous news. And look, the same thing had happened to me in reference to city staff coming out and talking with me, and they were scolded for it and so on. So there is this massive push to make sure that people that are not playing ball with the World Economic Forum, the perverts at the United Nations, the murderers at the World Health Organization, we don't want to follow them. Yeah, at all. So what happens? They punish us immensely. And YEG Freedom, Kevin, got 1,000 votes. They hated you. Oh, it looks like a troll to me. I think I know who that is too.
Yeah, who it is, usual. Garbage.
Yeah, as usual. No, unfortunately, Phil, they love me, baby. Come on, look at the smile on my face. Look how handsome I am. Come on, Phil, baby. We had a great time. No, don't do that. That's what he wants.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Annoy him with a smile.
I
All
won't.
right, that's it. I'm smiling. I'm not laughing at him. Smiling. I had a great time meeting people in Mississauga, in Calgary. I made good friends doing it. I have no regrets about running these campaigns. And by the way, Phil, I won the Calgary election, and everybody knows it.
hey, Kevin. And by the way, he tried to actually add me under that name. Not in a million years, Phil. Hey, Phil, you should worry about donations for Coots, the people in Coots in prison. Those donations being used for personal use. Cody Kuntz. Oh, yeah, sorry. I won't say anything more about Selena and going on Shadow Davis and exposing it.
Actually, Stefanos, the world doesn't know and doesn't care about these groups. Essentially, what Stefanos is saying here is we got 4 boys from Coots, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, faked gun charges against them, and they've been locked up for over a year just for being at a protest in the town of Coots, which is on the Alberta and Montana border. I just find it funny that this particular troll who's now on my case tonight, we haven't seen him in a while.
Amazing.
Yeah, very angry individual.
Hang on. The Coots 4, they haven't even got disclosure yet. Their court date was booked, I think, coming up in about a month or so. And because they haven't got disclosure, now they're going to put it off till next year. These guys have been serving dead time. Unbelievable.
Terrible. Could you imagine that, Ed, and these people supposedly raising funds for them, Freedom Central, and they're using those funds for their personal use? Sorry, Phil Primo.
Yeah,
Sorry,
who cares about Phil? I'm not talking to him or I'm not addressing him. Listen, I tried to talk to him like a man, and all he wanted to do was fist fight, and I wasn't going to get into it because, what's the point? Like, what is this, high school? Do you know how many times I get challenged to fist fights? You saw Jason Esty do it. You saw a bunch of kids here in Alberta do it. Like, no, the answer is no. I'm not going to fist fight you. It's not going to happen. All right, we got to move on to our next guest. Okay, so Johnny Hawk is waiting, and we got to talk about this because this story also affects me on a personal level, and I think everyone needs to understand that. But before we do that, everyone, just to remind you that we have gift cards tonight. We have gift cards. There we go. You can win for a $2 donation or more. It's up to you how much you want to donate. In Canada, you can win yourself an Amazon SO Ultimate Dining Card or Cineplex gift card. In America, Whole Foods, Burger King, Best Buy, Walmart. You get to select which card you are going to have when you win. So donate $2 or more. You can do so at my email address up above, right up here, and down below, freedomreport.ca@gmail.com. You can also go to my personal website, KevinJJohnston, my name.ca, and you can donate there. Also, what you could do is if you buy any of my books tonight, you'll get a chance to win as well. So there's many, many ways to enter the contest. Johnny Hawk, welcome back. We apologize we had to get Chris in there. So, Johnny, introduce yourself. Tell us what's going on.
Women bonjour, KK Constant, additional cause, addicto them. Can you guys hear me clearly?
We can hear you just
Am I
fine.
clear? Coming through clear? All right. So I'm going to try to summarize our history a little bit to get you to share a little bit what I've been doing. So my community where I'm from is Chimnishing Anishinaabeg. It's also known by its colonial designation as Bosley First Nation, which is an Indian Act band under the Indian Act. We're a community about almost 2,000 people. We're part of a larger community of 3 communities known in historical treaties with the Crown as the Chippewas of Lake Huron and Simcoe. So those 3 communities were clan heads, the Chippewas of Georgina and Chippewas of Rama, which are in the Lake Simcoe area. And my community is in the southern shores of Georgian Bay. So this was the traditional home of the Haudenosaunee, but through the Iroquois Wars and the Beaver Wars, there was a trade war, and we eventually came to a peace in 1701 and established this one dish with one spoon territory through a wampum belt. This is our how we govern ourselves through our constitutions, our devices on our laws, how we pass down our laws. So this is a territory that I'm speaking of, the dish with one spoon. So where we've established our and recognized with the Haudenosaunee peoples and the Wendat are hereditary or clan territories. So we have clan territories. So I'm in the Otter clan territory through intermarriage. So our clans is we don't have last names. We have our indigenous names, and we're part of a extended family that extends throughout our territory. So that's a little bit about the area I'm speaking on. To kind of go forward, we've never surrendered to be citizens of Canada. The 1867 B&A Act was created without our consent because we made a treaty with the Crown, the 1764 Niagara Covenant Chain, which helped ratify the Royal Proclamation, which is a treaty. A lot of people don't know the Royal Proclamation was a treaty. Why was it a treaty? Is because we accepted the 2-row wampum belt, which is another wampum belt that talks about we won't interfere with the Crown. They won't interfere on us. It was agreement based on peace, non-interference, and coexistence. So our Haudenosaunee, the Iroquois, the 6 Nations people of the Grand River, Chippewas of the Lake Huron and Simcoe were the first people in so-called Canada to have established treaties to allow the British Crown and its subjects to enter peacefully within our territories. So they wanted to utilize some of our lands and bays for military use. So we allowed that. So the specific territory I'm speaking on right now is the so-called pre-Confederation treaties, Treaty number 5, 16, and 18. So Treaty 5, our communities, our clans surrendered Penetang Bay and Midland on the map you'll see of southern Ontario, southern central Ontario, and Tiny Township, Simcoe County. We surrendered a tract of land for a naval base, and that's all it was. We didn't surrender what is from about Barrie up to Penetanguishene, all the way to the beach. So it's about 150,000 acres that we've not surrendered and never surrendered, and our communities put it into the specific small claims court in 1990, or the specific claims in 1990, and it was thrown out. So this is an outstanding claim, and I'm trying to bring this to light, but also I'm also trying to reestablish and reemerge our traditional clan system, because at the time our communities are run illegally and unlawfully by an elected Indian Act system, which enforces government policies, which is not the way we run our people. So it's like it's a total corruption, and how our communities facilitate is administering government policies through the programs they get. So they have to be good little Indians. So the Indian Act created our people and gave us last names and took us out of the clan system and our hereditary governing system, where we work with head chiefs and a group of clan mothers, our heads of our family. Now, when there's a lot of talk about clan people and clan heads, and that's starting to confuse the people because there's self-proclaimed people out there running around confusing a lot of our allies. A clan for us has territory. We have our language. We have our belts. We are connected through our laws and our intertribal relations. So this is what we're speaking on. So again, to speak on this is trying to reemerge our traditional, our inherent right to govern ourselves in our own way, which is totally contrary to the elected system of sellout government chiefs. So with that, I've been doing this for a long time, helping other communities protect the land, water by utilizing inherent rights and putting Canadian law back at them to help them see and honor their own law. So I've been occupying our traditional territory for a while. Doing that, we helped stop a multi-million dump in 2009, where Toronto was going to put his dump on an underground aquifer in our territory in Elmville. So we stopped that by blockading. So a couple years after that, I wanted to bring this issue about the waterfronts. So I wanted to unite with our settler communities who have been standing up against the private property, who've been kicking them off the beaches and trying to claim the shoreline as private property. So I took that advantage to set up a teepee and reclaim some land and speak on territory and the law. Because if we just shared the land with the settler communities, then who are these who are utilizing our stolen lands unlawfully and kicking off other settler people?
Well,
So,
Derek, I want you to bring the map back up if you could, just so that we can see Tiny Township on the map. Because, Johnny, I understand that you were staying in a teepee on these beaches here. And
Yep.
The reason that this story caught my attention is that exact strip of beach right there is one where the owners of those houses right there, now I can't name them because of a court order. Believe me, I wish I could. They fabricated a number of very bizarre details in the courts, and I ended up getting 4 months of jail time for essentially calling these people out for not owning that particular strip of beach. So what we have here, so Derek, zoom in just a touch where your finger is, if you could. So you got the houses. Okay, stop. Move the mouse just a little bit to the left there. Okay, see that little strip of beach? No. Oh, I wish I could control the mouse. Drive me nuts. Okay, to the right a bit. Stop. Okay, so there's a strip of beach that's about 18 feet wide and 280 feet long. A corporation had purchased that somewhere around, I think it was the 1950s. But if we have it right, it's butting up to these people's private properties. And then the rest of the beach they claim belongs to them. But the rest of the beach, we actually did our research. We were at the land assay office. We were at the records office. We went to Barrie into the courts to actually get a determination on this. And the beach, all the way into the water, is public land. Yet these people were having children assaulted by security guards to get them off of this beach. So and of course, white police officers would be called in by these white people, and the white police officers would physically drag white people off the beach. But Johnny, I understand that the police wouldn't even touch you. They wouldn't talk to you anyway. Let's hear about this. Go ahead.
All right. So I had again, just the year before, I shut down a main entrance in the Wyndham Provincial Park, and I was doing that for 5 weeks. And the only reason the police, with their whole SWAT team, it was just me doing this by myself. The only reason they took me away was because I wasn't there and I was returning. So they found an excuse, and they did similar in this situation too. So I was along that same stretch of so-called private property with my teepee camping for 2 weeks. So a storm blew my teepee down, and I took some of my stuff to a nearby residence just to keep safe. So in the morning, I went to go clean up the teepees to set it back up, and that's when they had a bunch load of OPP there to come and detain me and arrest me and take me in. So they allowed me there for like 2 weeks. I spoke with the commanding officer. and they were trying to negotiate with me to take my TP down because property owners didn't want me on their land. So it took 2 weeks for them of trying to walk lightly on what I was doing there.
Johnny, so if I heard you correctly, are you talking about government instilling their own government basically on a native reserve? And if that's the case, you did mention the Haudenosaunee. Now, the Haudenosaunee are the people who do the archaeological digs on wind turbines and wind turbine projects. I am aware at a certain particular wind turbine project in Niagara, there was a burial ground that was discovered before the turbine went up, but it was the Haudenosaunee under the cover of night that removed the bones and got the bones out, and under an agreement with the government that was kept secret from the public. And as far as Tiny Township goes, I know those beach, there was a court that happened, and as the native reserves are done under a Crown patent grant under the treaties, Tiny Township beaches were private property under the Crown patents that were granted to them. Now, the distinction I want to make here is the natives under the treaties and surrendering lands, and then the Crown land patent grants that were issued for the native reserves, and also the Crown land patent grants that were issued to the private property owners at Tiny Township. It was found that those beaches in Tiny Township were private property by the Crown land patent grants. My understanding is native lands, native do not own private property. Natives have what is called private property rights, where the people, because of the treaties and the surrendered lands, have actual private property rights. And my discussions with native chiefs, being First Nations and Six Nations, we were told we actually had more rights than the natives did, because it's land use rights that are given to natives, whereas private property rights are being issued to everybody else, which is actually land ownership. And this has opened the door, and we've seen a pilot project, and I believe it was in BC, where the government has now told First Nations, where the reserves are, that you now have private.
Are we getting off topic here? Am I being interviewed, or what are you asking here?
I'm just saying, I'm just, where Tiny Township is and what the government has done now with the pilot projects, where they're granting private.
I think I know what you're asking. Does a bear have a territory, and a land use territory? Does a bear have its right to use and have a part of the territory? That's how we look at it. It's a total different worldview. We have land use, and it's a communal, and it goes through consensus. We have territories, clan council fires. It's the underlying title to all land in Canada is Indigenous territories.
Well, Johnny, I know what you're saying, because I find myself very frustrated in a lot of places, especially in the province of Ontario, with all the land. Sorry?
With these these specific lands, though, however, were not ceded to the Crown. 250 acres was not ceded, so they were sold. We were never paid, or a proper treaty was never finalized with these specific lands that are these private properties are being owned. So they need to go to the so-called Canadian government and talk to them. But at the same time, I'm being criminalized for just upholding the law. and with that too, what I wanted to add to with my constitutional question and how I got these charges withdrawn was the difference of the legal person and the inherent rights. I transferred the court into the inherent rights jurisdiction. I could go on a little bit more about that, but that might take a little bit too time. But to summarize, I put myself in utilizing the law where they're obligated to deal with me through the inherent jurisdiction of the courts, and I named some specific legalities. The 1893 Statute Revision Act says any monarchs after Queen Elizabeth have no more jurisdiction in their dominions. The 1931 Statute of Westminster, the Crown extinguished their jurisdiction over the so-called lands that they obtained through treaties. So so-called Canadians can create a constitution to become an independent state. But that never happened. Sir William Lyon Johnson made a document to make Canadians seem under delusion they're still connected to the UK. So everything that we're going to court for under the legal person through His Majesty, we're being held under servitude, which contradicts that Section 2D, freedom of association. So that's the arguments that are utilized. But going back to that, the Crown extinguished its rights and titles in the lands they obtained through treaties. So again, all these lands revert to the original underlying title. There's no Canada. Even in the Interpretations Act, through what Canada is defined of is the internal, external waters and the seas. It's not a land base. It's only a corporation and the municipalities. These private properties, the only private property is our private property, the underlying title of our territories. Canada has no land, or the provinces.
So what's your next step then, Johnny?
So just what you said there about having no land and no property. So then, would that eliminate the treaties that were in place before, as you said, the Westminster Act? Would that eliminate the treaties then at that point, where now you just said that it's your land, there's no private property?
Yep.
So does that eliminate the treaties?
Yep, and then also, but also the Crown made a Indian trust fund where all the funds created off our resources and lands were put into a trust for our benefit. So again, so everything that funds Canada through for the consolidated revenue account, all that money is being illegally withheld from our people. Everything that was made and created and taken off our resources and given to these international corporations, that's all money that comes from our people, because we have not yet to create treaties, and the so-called Canadian has yet to make a lawful constitution.
Okay, so the lawful constitution, and what aspect do you mean? I'm a little bit, I thought we had a constitution, so I don't know if you can elaborate a little bit more on that.
All right, so the BNA Act was killed in 1893 through the Statute Revision Act. 1931, so-called Canadians were free to create a constitution, but they kept you under the illusion you're still connected to the monarchy. So at that time, Canadians were kept under in the dark about being a free independent state. 1982 comes along, the Queen, a foreign monarch, had no right to create what was called a Constitution Act. It was not a Constitution Act. It was only a charter for a corporation, and a foreign monarch cannot do that by those two statutes that I just said. So again, the so-called Canadian needs to make a lawful constitution, which involves the provinces need to restart treaties with us for the illegal stolen land that they're occupying.
Yes, so as what you said about 1982, so my understanding, and this is just my understanding, is the Constitution Act, where I'm going to assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, this 1982 is where they brought the Charter of Rights and Freedoms into the act and inserted it. And so it was an amendment to the British North America Act, which is still active. So it's still the British North America Act, the amendment where they have inserted the Charters of Rights and Freedoms. Do I have that part right, at least?
To a point, but the Queen had no right to amend it. her right to do so was ended after Queen Victoria died.
Okay, and how did that right end after Queen Victoria died, that they could not do this? If you can explain.
They took out Section 2 of the B&A Act and the 1893 Statutes Revision Act. So Section 2 of the B&A Act says all heirs and people of the monarch that comes after, they took that part off. So that means any heirs and people next to the in part of the throne has no more jurisdiction or authority over the dominions.
All right, so the heirs, I guess you're speaking about the heirs and assigns, and the problem where we're finding the conflict in is so we have our crown land patent grants, and in those grants, because the monarchy in the vision of law owns Canada, and so we have a crown land patent grants that will predate 1893. Was it that you said? And if I got that wrong, sorry. But if it predates that, in those crown land patent grants, they state that it is for their heirs and assigns forever when those lands were granted. And now the problem is there is also the royal proclamation, which also states that what one royal does, another royal cannot undo. And when they state it's forever, we have a problem, because even though the Westminster Act comes in, and there is court case precedent that has been put in there by the courts, Supreme Court of Canada also, and it states that these crown patents that were issued cannot be undone. And we also have the Public Land Document Act that in Section 3, I believe it's 3.1, don't quote me on that, but it's in Section 3 somewhere. And it states that this is the cancellations of crown land patent grants and or letters patent as they're known. And it says that any letters patent that was issued in error or shouldn't be issued, other than lands that or patents that convey land, which would be the crown land patent grant, can be canceled or erased. So in other words, they're saying that crown land patent grants cannot be erased or done away with. So this is going to cause a problem. And I do know about the Haudenosaunee. I have had, like I said previous, I do know certain Six Nations do own.
We have an intertribal alliance built with the Haudenosaunee, where we sat down with the Crown. And again, that treaty with the Crown, we were never consulted. So all this good information that you're providing, our peoples have never been consulted or have got that consent. So you know what? These letters patents, as far as our people exist, these lands are all ours, the underlying title. We've never sat with the Crown. They never consulted us about what they were doing, or relieving themselves to the provinces and the jurisdictions. So you know, this is a law that can be upheld internationally.
So how can we and you know, this is not something that's very easily put away. It's a very complex over the years and several years. But there has been court rulings as of recent where there have been First Nations under Asmin Aztec that have taken certain things to court here, and have also tried to use the UN drip. These have all and have claimed also the same thing that you have said about the we don't have a constitution, but the judges have gone against that and said that we do have a constitution, and that Asmin and Aztec are just a for hire entity, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. But how do we get past these things? Because they've already ruled that it's not true that we do not have a constitution. What's your take on that? And I'm just saying what I have read and what I've seen in case law and the court rulings. That's all.
Sorry, did we lose you guys there?
I don't know. I don't know if Johnny heard me or not. I don't know what part he heard me. I don't know if Johnny disconnected or I disconnected. I'm not sure.
Johnny, are you hearing us okay?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just went off a little bit for about like a couple seconds.
What part did you hear me up to? Was it the court rulings that I had said that I have heard about Asman and Aztec?
You were trying to ask me a question, and I was trying to answer.
Yeah, so I don't know if
you were asking me a question.
Yeah, I was just saying, what was your take on court rulings where UN DRIP has failed and Asman and Aztec, and the judges have said that we do have a constitution and that groups like memberships of Asman and Aztec are just for hire organizations as long as you pay your membership, and that they are actually perpetrating a further abuse to First Nations and stuff by bringing these forward. How do we get past this? What's your take on that? I don't know.
Well, there's several court decisions, our versus board versus board. There's a list of arguments in my constitutional question that I can make available where the courts are obligated to open up the inherent jurisdiction. So once you open up the inherent jurisdiction and represent yourself, not through a lawyer, but as a living being through recognized your live birth statement, you're no longer under this criminal code or this so-called charter or constitution. Within this, there's a ruling that says the charter is available for non-citizens in Singh versus Canada and Suresh versus Canada. So Section 7 says it applies to everyone. Everyone is a living being, including non-citizens. But when you go in certain rights where they call citizens, that's where you are choosing to be the legal person. So this goes into what is called admiralty law, where the courts administer, and that's their jurisdiction, which is the sea and the law of water, what I was talking about. That Canada Interpretation Act is only defined as the internal and external seas. They have no jurisdiction on land. The only reason they can have jurisdiction on our territories is making us the legal person, a corporation, a dead entity, and a dead entity can't have inherent rights. So once we go to the Private Property Security Act and get out of that admiralty law and walk them through step to step, then they'll know they don't have a constitution. You have to fight them with the admiralty maritime law.
Yes. So then, are we talking like a straw man? Is that what you mean with the birth certificate?
A straw man is not a living being. We're talking about information.
So what I'd like to do here, guys, because look, what we're doing here is we're opening up a massive debate here because, Johnny, you mentioned person, which is actually in Black's Law Dictionary, essentially assigning human beings corporate status. And that would be an entire 2-hour show for me to explain that and how Black's Law Dictionary works. So what we have here is, Johnny, you wanted to call attention to your cause, and you did so by staying on beaches. You upset the rich, which I always love. And the police refused to remove you because they simply don't want to be known as racist, or they don't want to be involved with anything to do with Native rights because they don't know them. They really don't. But I want to ask you, if I could please, the personal question here is, where do you go from here? What's your next step in this game?
Building up my community with our grandmothers and our people to reemerge our clan governing system, which is all about consensus and community. Everyone has a voice and a say.
Well, I
So it's
I love community, but so where does that happen? Where would this community take place? Is it just a matter of you all congregate once in a while, or are you looking to build, for lack of a better term, bigger towns?
It's right in our communities. We have, like our communities. We have gatherings. We're sitting down. We're trying to gather, and how to do that. It's a long process, but it's happening. It's happening in pockets across our land through acts of resistance of the Wet'suwet'en people who are occupying their land against pipelines. It's happening right now, and we're meeting and we're sitting and we're growing. So right now, with our communities in Georgina Island and Rama, we're amalgamating to make this happen, where we're organizing right now to separate from the elected system and holding these laws to the elected system and the crown.
Okay, so I know that in the United States, some of the native reserves there are actually considered independent countries. Like they're not governed by the U.S. government nor the state government that they are within. So is that the type of autonomy that you're looking for, to have a large swath of land that is outside of the ownership of the crown?
Well, I think we could have to talk with the people of the provinces first, and to sit down and make them understand that they need to be free also. So we have to once we get set up with our governance, at the same time running parallel with the settler communities, they need to set up their constitution too.
So essentially what you're doing is you're calling all human beings to do this, not just natives.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. No, I see what you're saying. I understand the fact that there's a lot of people that ask me this question all the time, and that is, how do I avoid paying taxes? And go ahead.
Oh, that's like my perspective is a little bit radical, but it's the truth right there. Those treaties are extinguished, but again, all that money is sitting in the consolidated revenue is rightfully ours. But we need to create new treaties with the people of the provinces. We need to learn to sit down together without, we can't even sit down in some of our own networking groups sometimes too. So this is a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I know. If you bring the wrong brand of coffee, for example, I know the meetings don't go anywhere. That's a big problem. But so, Johnny, I'd like to do this. I'd like to actually have a private conversation with you next week if I could, because I want to get a better understanding of all of it. There's a lot to cover here. And I think that this topic absolutely needs to be discussed again. Are you okay coming back next month on the show to talk about this?
And I could share this constitutional question, because like the crown attorney, it was before Christmas, they were ready to prosecute me and ask for jail time because I breached a couple of probations from other actions. So she wanted some time and proceed with it. Then when I put a slight amendment to it, then in January when we came back, she said, "Oh, the crown is not interested in this anymore." Yeah, so there's some key arguments that we need to share with people anyways.
Okay. Yeah, you and I'd like to talk privately with you about this, because I really want to wrap my head around this. There's positively no reason for me not to know this. Well, Johnny Hawk, thank you for being here. I certainly do appreciate that. All right, we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so new perspective on everything. I understood there at the end what he was trying to say. And look, the point that I wanted to make is a lot of people are asking me how they can be outside of the Canadian system. Now, we hear the free man on the land crap. That always comes up. And of course, I'm going to tell everyone, stay away from those folks, mainly because that free man on the land stuff, Stefanos, I can think of one court case where that worked. And it was filmed by somebody. It shouldn't have been filmed because you can't film in Canadian courts. And if I got it right, it was in Kitchener, Ontario, about an hour and 10 minutes west of Toronto, where the judge got so angry with the guy's bluster that he just stood up and walked out of the courtroom, and the ticket got waived. But if you don't know that stuff like to a T, they're going to screw you over. And I really would also like to cover Black's Law Dictionary in a 2-hour show, because if you look at the Black's Law Dictionary and you put it right beside the Oxford Dictionary and you look at the same word, it doesn't mean the same thing at all. It's not even close. I swear to God, they're so different that the word elephant, if it was in Black's Law Dictionary, would mean chocolate ice cream cone. That is how different the language truly is. So we need to cover all of that well. But in the meantime, I want to remind everybody that tonight, donate $2 or more. you can get yourself one of these fine gift cards in Canada. Amazon Esso, the ultimate dining card, or Cineplex. You in the United States, if you're one of our American fans, Walmart, Best Buy, Burger King, and Whole Foods. You can select which card. It's a $25 gift card. It gets emailed to you tonight, right after the show. Anybody who has submitted a payment, send me over your phone number so I can give you a call if you're the winner. We're going to spin the wheel about 10 minutes before the end of the show. You can donate at freedomreport.ca at gmail.com. Right above me there is the email address, or go to my personal website, KevinJJohnston.ca, and you can donate there. All right, Eduardo, as Mike likes to call you. We were talking about this specific topic here. Kaboom. Willful ignorance. And Ed, you made a whole bunch of really good points in the private conversation that we had. I mean, I think that you were in the middle of brushing your teeth and smoking and tying your shoes, so you mumbled a bit. But what exactly was it that you wanted to talk about here? Because we're going to get some audience interaction on this, I'm sure.
Well, there's a lot of topics that come up. There's a lot of things that people do from day to day. And there's a lot of opinions that people have. And they're just based on hearsay. Are these people willfully ignorant? That the fact that they won't take the time to drill down, to do research. Like, I keep coming up against this all the time. Like, today again, people were giving raised eyebrows because I said my mother was vaccine injured, and that's why she passed away 10 years earlier than she should have. And I explained to them what was happening, and they're saying, wow, that's happening to my mom. But we don't think it's because of the vaccine. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? This is textbook. So that's just one example of being willfully ignorant.
I think what we should do then, Ed, is maybe go to the beginning here, like old wives' tales. Like, start with that example. And this is a really good one. People think that if you see a baby bird on the ground and you pick it up with your hand and put it back in the nest, the mother will reject the bird and kill it. That is the biggest load of crap I ever heard. It's absolutely not true. But there was a neighbor when I still lived in Mississauga. A baby bird fell out of my tree, and I had a lacrosse stick, so I just kind of woo and caught it, picked it up. Neighbor is screaming at me at the top of his lungs, "Don't touch it! The mother will reject it." Why do you believe that? Who told you that? I picked the bird up, put it back in the nest, and everything was fine. Absolutely fine. So it's a belief that this guy has, and he was willing to shout like a maniac in a public setting to defend that particular belief, even though it's not based on fact. It was just based on something that someone had told him in the past. Another example that I would give is, and my mother, I gave her hell for this when I was in my early 20s, but if you remember, was it Dorian Yates, I think it was at the time, Mr. Olympia, when even Lou Ferrigno, who played the Incredible Hulk on TV, like all these guys were in the Mr. Universe contests, and they're up there and they're doing the muscles and and they're doing all that stuff. And I wasn't envious. Yeah, there you go. I wasn't envious of them, but I thought it was really cool. So when I'm in grade 7 watching this, I thought that is awesome. I'd like to do that. My mother says, "Oh, those guys are so stupid. When they get older and they stop working out, it all turns to fat." And that's my mother, so I kind of believe her. All right. So when I started talking to nutritionalists more towards age 16, 17, the science was then brought forward that it's 100% impossible for muscle to magically turn into a different compound. It doesn't magically turn into fat. Your muscle will just revert to where it was before. That's it. That's all that happens. So I gave her hell because I actually postponed working out 2 years because I was afraid of having muscle turn into fat. She believed that ardently. But then in my 20s, I asked her, "Where did you get that from?" "Oh, I don't know. I just heard it somewhere." It's like, you screwed my life up for a couple of years on something you just heard. You did no research into it, but you stated it to me like it was fact. So when you start to think about most people, Ed, it's not just my parents. It wasn't just my grandparents or my aunts and uncles who all stuck to these really stupid ideas, but it's all of society. Everyone believes this stuff. And when you tell them that they're wrong, what happens? They get offended. They leave the dinner table. They put on their shoes and leave the house. So maybe we could get to the bottom of this. If anybody wants to make some commentary on this in the chat rooms there, and yes, we are watching the Rumble chat room tonight, by all means, tell us what you think. Why is it that people willfully want to cling to really stupid ideas, but also willingly want to believe what is being told to them by CBC or CNN or CTV? Ed, I'm going to give you the first take on this. Go ahead.
Here's one for you. The government has your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
Stefanos,
Who believes that? Who believes that?
I think a lot of people do say, oh, they would never pass the law that way. Or another good one is the mainstream media in Canada would never lie. They're totally independent. They're not taking any money from the government.
Okay.
And all I got to say is whenever government, tell me one thing government has put their hands on that has not turned into shit, period. And, there's nothing. Anything they touch, they destroy or screw right up bad. And anything they bring in under the guise of good, some way it's supposed to be good for you or another. Let's take climate change. That always is followed up by tyranny. All of a sudden, we're getting taxed up the wazoo. We're getting all sorts of problems. Government is not for the people. And the unfortunate thing is government is tyrannical by nature. This has been stated in case law in the courts over the years, over and over. This is why we have a constitution. Constitution is the checks and balances that keeps the government from becoming tyrannical. But when we do not enforce those rights that we have to stop them, and we just figure somebody else is going to do it for us or something, and over the years, nobody steps up, guess what? It erodes our rights. It weakens our right. It removes our rights in some cases. KevinJJohnston's case with AHS, it's removed now our constitutional rights to criticize and speak against the government and their policies and public interest. So people need to wake the hell up. We got to man up here, and we got to start holding government accountable. Plain and simple. I have no other way to describe this. If we have nobody else, we can't blame government for doing what they're doing if we do not stand up against them and enforce our rights. We have no one to blame but ourselves for not doing this. This is the problem, period.
Well, I also had a family member. I was asking them about, I just wanted to see what their exemption looked like, just so I would know if it's real or not. And second thing was, I was thinking of buying one. We're going down the States or Mexico and getting, where they squirt it in the sink and they say, yeah, you took it. Because I knew what these toxic experimental injections were all about. And he says, why don't you just go get your jab? Why don't you go along to get along? And it's like my head goes boom.
Okay. Actually, I'm glad you made that statement there. So I want everybody in the chat room now, and that includes Rumble. You guys go ahead and throw in there about your ideas on go along to get along. I got some advice from my father when I was 18, saying, don't be an individual, fit into society, don't ever stand out, don't let anyone notice you. Yeah, you need to what was the word there? To succeed at a job, you said, at a job, that you have to do what the boss says and never get recognized. I'm thinking, wait a minute. Well, how do people become movie stars? How do people become incredible musicians? I can't imagine AC/DC or Bruce Dickinson having lined up with Iron Maiden or Ozzy Osbourne or any of these people getting anywhere in life if they played by the rules and they just got along. I mean, they had to do controversial things. They had to be loud. They had to be as loud and obnoxious as they possibly could. They got noticed. Eventually, they got noticed, and eventually they became highly successful. Now, so if we could get your commentary there in the room, everyone, please do let me know. I, of course, fundamentally disagreed with him on that particular point. And you know the way people, when they lose an argument, it's like, you know what you're talking about. Yeah, just get damn kids. And that was the end of that conversation. So I had to vehemently disagree. But I also disagree with everybody who believes the first thing that they hear. You know, I'll be 52 this year. I think by the time I got to being maybe about 24 years of age, I didn't believe anything that anyone said. I mean, I would grant them the basic stuff. If someone said, my name is John Smith and I'm a garbage man, okay, I would believe that because I had no reason not to. My name is Richard Pike and I am a former brain surgeon. I lost my job because I'm an alcoholic. I'm thinking, okay, I believe that. But when they start making bizarre and brazen statements about the way the universe works, you know, I don't believe it. Or the way government works, I don't believe it. I had to do the research for myself. This is why I think this particular show became a massive threat to the government, because you two boys are in the same boat as me. You don't believe anything that's told to you. You research it. You read up on it. You know, Ed, you call me at night and you wake me up. Oh, Kevin, hey, we got to do some research into this. And we do. And that's where we get to these answers. So we do not accept the world the way that it's presented to us, which led us to here. This, what we call once successful show, and now we do it for kicks. We're still telling the truth, and we still are not accepting the outside world's responses. Now, has this been good for us? And on top of that question, is what we do helping anybody? So I want to actually get your thoughts. Steph, you go first.
God, do you really want my thoughts? I don't even want to say my thoughts. There was just so much said.
Hey, with Bill C11 and C18, you better hurry up because we won't have much time.
Well, go ahead, Ed. I don't want to make a comment to that. You go ahead.
No,
1 hour later.
Make the comment. I'm going to go get a glass of water.
Oh, fuck. Are you kidding me? God. So, you know, we, at the end of the day, we all need to wake up, period. What's going on now is government has used, and people do not realize. I've had extensive conversations with First Nations, Six Nations in the last month. I've had several calls. I've had several conversations with even the Métis. And the problem is people really do not have a clue on what their history is. Problem is we have infiltration. We have all sorts of things. You know, Johnny being a good man and in his heart what he believes and everything, we heard the terms maritime law. People, do your research. What's maritime law? Maritime law is international law. What's international law? That's the United Nations. They have caused so much problems. And what has the United Nations tied into? That's the UN drip. And this is why I brought up the court cases that have already been settled. I've heard so many people, and I'm not picking on the native people. I'm not picking on First Nations or Six Nations. I've heard it from even, I guess you want to call them the white man or the settlers or whatever you want to call them. They have also said the same thing. And the problem is, it's the UN. COVID, what's been going on these last 3-4 years? World Health Organization, United Nations, ICC, United Nations, UNHCR, United Nations, all these, EU, the European Union, United Nations. Everything is the UN, and this is the control of the UN attempting to take over the world. They are a Marxist, bureaucratic body, unelected, and they are going to tell you what you're going to do in your own sovereign country, your own sovereign people. Now, as Johnny had stated, no treaties are in place. So what does that mean? Are we back at war with the natives then if there's no treaty in place? I'd like to not think that, because the courts and super recent, very recent case law says that we do have a constitution, that the United Nations UN DRIP does not apply. We do know there are groups out there that make people pay a membership fee. They're not recognized by the government. They do come in and charge a fee of about $275 to $300, make people go to court, waste all money, and then they get screwed in the end because none of this applies. The UN has no jurisdiction in Canada whatsoever. We're a sovereign country and a sovereign people. And I wish the natives would, instead of trying to partner up with the UN and wake up and see what the UN is trying to do, I wish the First Nation and Sixth Nation would team up with the settlers and bring something meaningful in a relationship together and get something where we can get along and cut the United Nations out. We do not need the United Nations in Canada or anywhere else around the world.
I agree with what you just said. Of course, it has nothing to do with my statement and or what I asked, but I think that you were deliberately dodging it anyway. So, Ed, I'll throw it back at you then. I mean, with all the stuff that we've done, really, has it been good for us and or the people watching? Let me get your take on it.
Well, I think Bubba likes it, obviously, what we're doing on the show. But what are we going to do? We got to bring the truth out. We got to dig into the issues. Have we got it wrong every single time? I think pretty much most of the time, but not every single time. We do damn well. We get
So
it.
did you say we got it wrong most of the time? No.
No.
There's no way we got it wrong.
We get it right most of the time. We've gotten it wrong occasionally, a bit. Like, here's another thing. Willfully ignorant. What's the difference between this and that?
Yeah. Oh, first off, is the silver one, is it 99.9? Is it 99.9% pure?
Four.
Because I'll answer that question.
3 nines on it, yeah.
3 nines. Okay. Well, then the one with 3 nines is the one that I want. I know that silver coin you're holding is only worth about $31 on the open market, but 10 years from now, it'll still have value. That piece of paper, that piece of plastic now, that polymer, really doesn't have any value at all when you stop and think about it. And look, you guys, you know how much research I'm doing into the Canadian economic market, and you guys know exactly what I've been saying. Hold that bill up again. Go on, because Americans don't seem to realize our money is funny.
Gold standard, Kevin. Gold standard. That's all I got to say.
That paper isn't backed by anything. There's nothing backing that. It has value because we've been told that it does, and collectively as a society we have agreed that it does. That's it. But the silver is something. If you're actually going to give me the choice between the silver bar that you're holding up, the silver coin, and the $50 bill, I take the coin and hide it somewhere and not tell anybody I've got it. That's it.
Okay, so currency versus money.
Well,
this is currency. This is actual money. So when you say, give me your money, a guy puts a gun to your head and said, give me your money, and you give him currency, you're actually defrauding him. Think about it.
I suppose.
What you should be doing is giving him silver and gold coin or platinum.
Oh, what's that? Hold it up again, Steph.
5 ounce.
Oh, the green screen's picking that up. Gold or silver? I can't tell the color.
It's silver. That's a 1 ounce silver bar.
So again, so the point I'm trying to make here, Kevin, is willful ignorance. Everybody calls this money, but it's not. It's currency. This is real money. This has value to it. Now, the money in the Monopoly game, it's worth probably 10% or 20% of what this is, because this is just a chunk of paper with a bit of plastic in it.
Yes,
Monopoly money, which you can't use, or people won't use it, it's the same shit. It's just made of paper. It's numbers on a piece of paper.
Well, that's absolutely correct.
How can people be so willfully ignorant that they don't understand the difference between currency and money?
Okay, well, currency, I'll clarify it. And one of the things, everybody, is I'm not going to drone on for a long period of time about this, because if you remember, we did a 3-part show, was it now, 2021, about how currency worked, the history of money itself, how it actually worked. And a lot of people complained to me because it was very difficult to follow. And it's difficult to follow because this stuff, it's complicated. Currency is complicated. But imagine this, and this is where prostitution is the oldest profession in the world. Ladies, your body is a currency. If you want food in a collapsed economy, like the average horny guy will part with bullets and cigarettes and booze and medicine and food for sex. That's a fact. That is what currency might be. That is why, if you always remember during the showtime, especially at our peak in 2021, we were saying that, your donations could be gift cards or McDonald's coffee cards. It didn't make a difference to us because all of that was currency. A McDonald's gift card to me for coffee in the morning is currency. It's not money, like Ed is saying. It's just absolute currency. So a lot of folks will remain ignorant to the fact that anything that some other human being perceives that has a value is actually a currency, something that could be traded. Am I boring you two gentlemen? Are you both on the phone?
No, I'm just sending a slide I'm going to share shortly.
Fantastic.
I was just answering a question about a silver dollar, though. No, that what I held up was not a silver dollar. It's something else. But there's gold bars also, and I have several of those. I've been stocking up on gold and silver because what Ed was holding up, a $50 bill, it's worthless. It's just paper and plastic, and those things melt. What if anything collapsed? Real currency, as you said, Kevin, the gold standard. This is why they done in Gaddafi, because he wanted to go back to the gold standard. Gold and silver is the actual value. Paper money is nothing. They'll change it tomorrow to digital. We'll go to digital currency. What's the difference? Now it's not even going to cost him a penny to even produce it, where they might have to pay a penny for a $50 bill to be produced, or $100 or a $5 or whatever it is. There's the real value is in gold and silver.
Yes. So getting back to willful ignorance, is that it's incredible how the vast majority of people still believe in the following: that you wake up, you go to work, you work a job, you pay your taxes, you get some money left over, and you put some money in the bank, and it's going to be there waiting for you when you retire. That is no longer the model that works. It's been proven to us time and time again that the banks will lock our accounts down for no reason whatsoever. You'll go to use your card, doesn't work. You'll call the bank, and they'll say, "Oh, yeah, we had a login into your account. We don't know if it was you." And like you're yelling, saying, "Yeah, it was me. Why don't you call me and tell me you're shutting down my card?" So they can turn off your card like that. The government, if they don't like your political opinions, they'll turn off your bank account. We saw that happen. If they don't like your political opinions, they won't give you a bank account. We saw that with Jeremy McKenzie. If they just don't like you, the person, one of our good friends here, I just actually helped him type a lawsuit up. He's suing one of the major banks. I'm not going to name him nor the bank, but he's suing one of the major banks because they didn't like his politics during COVID and shut down his bank account and shut down his line of credit. Just like that. No warning whatsoever. So why the hell would anybody want to put money in the bank? It's not safe. It's at their mercy. But people remain willfully ignorant to the fact that, oh, no, they'll never do that to me. I don't speak my mind anywhere. Well, yeah, they will. If they feel like it, they will. Now, a lot of you don't seem to understand how government lotteries work. And when I say lottery, I mean when they do selection processes. What you should all do, if you want to see something very, very scary, is watch the early 70s, the Vietnam War draft, if you want to see how they do things. It was a terrifying video, which was going to affect the lives of millions of kids who are 18 and 19 years of age. That if you're born on set dates and in set months, you had to serve in the military and go to a foreign country that nobody could find on a map. So they would do the same thing here. If the government decided to start shutting the economy down even faster, then they would do lotteries. They would say, okay, last names that begin with A and S and Z, we will start shutting their bank accounts down on a set date, and we'll see how many of them call to get that fixed. And they'll start writing down the percentages of people that call. And then they'll go to a different thing. They'll say last names beginning with C and M and O. We'll shut them down and see how fast it takes for those people to register complaints and try to fix their accounts. And they'll take that data down. They are going to do these things continually because they've been doing it since the beginning of COVID. Well, since way before that. But with this COVID thing, they pushed us to our limit and everybody caved into it. So with banking, after the truckers convoy came up and bank accounts got shut down and trucks got repossessed and towed and whatnot, people put up with it. And they're going to keep doing this. You're all going to put up with it. So we have to get it out of the idea out of our head that putting money in the bank is a good idea, that the old model of work hard, get a paycheck, put it in the bank, and live off that in your retirement doesn't work anymore. Pension funds are going to be empty in this country because I told you we're being switched to a digital currency.
So, Kevin.
Yeah.
My mother has an Eisenhower, I can't remember what they call it, Eisenhower silver quarter. It's not a quarter, silver dollar, quarter dollar, or something like that. That coin itself is worth $68,000, just one coin. And then she has numerous rolls of a quarter, an actual quarter, with the queen on it. But I don't know if you've seen them, but the quarters aren't round as normal. They have the flat sides all the way around it. They got flat sides all the way around it. Every coin of that quarter is worth $28,000. And she's got numerous rolls of them. Now, again, this is because they have silver in them, 99 silver. Not only that, but the Eisenhower one is minted from the Queen's Mint in the UK. So that, you have other ones and they differ and depends on the mark on it from where it was minted. And there is a lot of different things going on. Like if I was anybody and you have these types of coins, sell them, get your money for them, take that money, buy either gold or silver, and I would encourage more gold than silver, and keep them with you, because at the end of the day, that is the only thing that has value. Again, paper value is nothing. They bring in digital currency tomorrow, Kevin, that paper money's gone, and now it's all digital currency, but you still have real value in something that is material, gold and silver. That's the only way you're going to secure yourself.
Well, I absolutely agree with that. And I know some people are asking me here, is it better to buy platinum? Because apparently platinum is worth more than gold. No, absolutely not. Platinum only has 30 years of record keeping, whereas silver and gold have 5,000 years of history and record keeping, all the way back to past Roman times. Silver and gold's been around for a very, very long time. Palladium's the other kind of thing. They might have, I think, 28 to 32 years of recorded data on palladium, which is why right now it's worth less than gold. Platinum is worth less than gold. I think actually gold overtook platinum in value in 2008. So silver and gold, stick with the basics, silver and gold. If you're getting into the crypto market, stick to Bitcoin and Ethereum. Never mind all the other stuff out there. Forget everything else. Right? Stick with what works and stick with what the billionaires do. Kevin O'Leary sticks with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Kevin O'Leary has lots of gold and lots of silver. He doesn't waste his time with rubies and sapphires because that stuff is subject to the opinions of the average person. It's not subject to actual market values. So let's not remain ignorant, people. Let's do some research on our own. What I could do, actually, I'm going to share a screen here in a second.
Jason, just for what you're saying in there about the UK leaving the EU, of course they did. They want their sovereignty. Did you know that when the UK was in the EU, as soon as the EU took over, that they paid every fisherman, because they destroyed the fisheries there, they paid every fisherman $200 to light their boats on fire on the shorelines because they had sold all fishing rights to China. I don't think you know about that, but you should research it. It's right there out in the open. And this is part of the reason of why the EU, the UK left the EU, because it destroys a country's sovereignty. The same thing. This is why the UN is trying so hard to get into Canada, because it will destroy it. We're seeing the Liberal government selling off our resources to China. Everything's being bought up by China. Does the federal government even have the right to sell our resources off? Hell no. They belong to the people. How do we know this? Because in Alberta, for a short while, they were giving every Albertan a check every month because of the amount of gold oil they were pulling out of the ground, because those resources belong to the people.
So,
Yes.
Steph, sorry, Kevin. I don't know if you're aware of this one, but have you heard what's going on in Hungary lately?
No, not at all.
So they've got I'd say he's conservative, but he's more than a conservative president. He's actually for the people, and he's actually for the Hungarian people, if you can believe it. He refused to take immigrants in when immigrants were running all the way up through Europe. Put up fences to actually keep them out. He's brought in laws where if you're Hungarian, and I think when you get your fourth child, either you get a free car or no mortgage, or very lucrative to have large families in Hungary. And it's a decent life. So he's trying to build up the population internally. They're being nationalistic. They're being Hungarians for Hungary. They're trying to maintain their culture. Recently, they put on the books a law where in the schools, you're not allowed to teach any of this LGBT crap. You're only allowed to teach physical sex ed. Can't get into these 150 or 2 million whatever genders. That's illegal. You're not allowed to groom kids. That's illegal. Now, I'm going to dive deeper into this in the coming week, and I'll get back to you guys on the details that I find.
Yeah.
But the EU is actually having him removed as president.
Well, and again, this is why the EU was put into place. It's a branch of the United Nations, and this is the UN's attempt at doing a power grab in a one world government taking control of the whole world. And what this Hungarian president is doing is called common sense, sovereignty, nationalism. So, and the EU has no authority at the end of the day to remove him, period. And this is what we have to stand up to and enforce, is our sovereignty. We are sovereign. The UN has no authority here. It's been put in the courts over and over. Kevin, do you remember back in the day when we had, I think it was that idiot Brian Mulroney in power, and there were these tariffs on the redwood that we were getting out of BC that the USA was taking over and over, and they owed us a lot of money. I can't remember how many millions it was now, but Canada, like a bunch of sheep, took the United States to court, international court again, United Nations, the UN, the International Trade Commission, and they ruled against the U.S. and all this money. And what did the U.S. do? They said, F you, Canada, we're not paying, even though you got this ruling. What are you going to do about it? Because there's nothing. There's no enforcement. There's nothing. Canada got screwed, and we're getting screwed again.
That's right. Well, okay, that's weak leadership, first off. But I remember the case at the World Court. The Americans, they had two delegates two delegates, I'm sorry, on the World Court that just walked away. This is back in the 80s, and they haven't bothered putting delegates back in there since. The Americans don't care what the World Court has to say, period. So the idea is that you have to secure better contracts. We need better negotiators in Canada, better, stronger, more solid men. And the rest of this country needs to stop being willfully ignorant, believing that the men that we have in this country are actually real men. They're not. Right? There's 3 real men here. There might be another 10 that I know. Beyond that, there are no real men here. They don't have your best interest at heart. They don't know how to negotiate. The Americans are all about commerce, commerce, commerce. So they're going to negotiate the best deal in the world for them. They don't care about us. Why should they? They're a different country. We need to care about us. And we simply don't. Now, someone was asking me a question here. Dan. Dan, I'm going to try to pronounce your last name here. Maybe Ed can help me. I'm going to go with Zexy. Would that be correct? Not sexy, but Zexy. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. Let me know if I'm right, Dan. What do I think about the massive gold heist at Pearson Airport? $100 million in gold, solid gold bars, disappears from Lester B. Pearson International Airport inside of my hometown of Mississauga. Of course, it's an inside job. How the hell could you move that much gold? Think about that. $100 million in gold. How many pounds would that be? You know what? I'm going to get a calculator out.
Kevin.
Yeah.
So, and I'll add a little more to this. In Belize and several other countries, all around the same amount of time, where money laundering was being an accusation against a prime minister or president against another certain country, these gold heists were happening. Funkers 530 has the actual video of one of the heists being attempted that was thwarted, and the military and everything kept them away from it. But this money that was at Belize, that this happened, this attempted heist, came from a certain country. And this is where they were ousting the prime minister. All he did, connect the dots, all he did was try to launder all this money in gold, sent it to the other country because Belize has no extradition or anything else with them. So they're an offshore country. This is why several members of the Liberal Party were caught, and the Conservative Party caught in the Panama Papers that were released, that they were laundering money offshore to Belize. So this is something that they do. Why else do you think 100 million went freaking missing? Just put some math together.
I did some mathematics for everybody. If I've got my mathematics correct, that's 2,314.8125 pounds of gold. So that's a ton. That's an imperial ton plus 300 extra 14 pounds. So 1 ton of gold goes missing. That's not easy to do, considering if you have a ton of gold worth $100 million, that would be the most secure truck or secure plane or secure room or storage bin on the planet. At least it should be. Now, I may not have that number right. I worked it out to be $100 million divided by $2,700 an ounce, which came up to 37,000 something ounces, which is then 2,314 pounds. Ed, if you got the math, let me know if I'm right or wrong.
Hey,
Yeah,
look,
I came up with just over a ton, so you're pretty close, depending on the dollar conversion, right?
Yeah, okay, good. So a ton. 1.3 tons of gold. How the hell does that go missing? Inside job. Somebody was paid
Exactly.
to blind eye. I don't know. Did it get out on a plane or multiple planes? Did it get out on a truck?
Actually,
plane or truck is the only way out.
hey, a ton of gold is only a foot by a foot by a foot, approximately.
No.
Yeah.
No.
30, okay, a foot and a half. It's 37.26 centimeters per side.
Okay, hold on. Hold off. That's actually an interesting point. Hold off. Derek is going to spin the wheel. So we're going to find out who is going to win the $25 gift card tonight. Derek, if you could clear that up, I can't really see it all that well. We don't have any sound effects. And I can't I can't read it.
Man, I can't read it either.
Okay, the finger. What does it say, Derek? You got to come on and tell us. I can't read that.
Why is the resolution so low?
Mike P.
Who?
Mike P.
Mike P. All right, so Mike, you were the second guy to donate tonight, so congratulations. You've won the $25 gift card. Let me just put it up for you right now, so you can choose. There you go. Let us know if you want Amazon, SO, the Ultimate Dining Card, or Cineplex, because, Mike, I believe you are in Ontario, if I've got that right. So also, Mike, send me your phone number. I want to just give you a quick call and give you the instructions on how to download your digital card. Thank you, everyone, for playing this week. We're going to have more gift cards next week for everybody. Okay, Ed, getting back to what you're saying, really? A ton of gold is only a cubic foot?
No, it's a little bit bigger. It's 37 centimeters. A foot is about 30 centimeters. So approximately 15 inches by 15 inches by 15 inches. It's not a lot. It's not a big space. Your carry-on is bigger.
Okay. Well, then I don't think our math is lining up then, because I just typed in how much is 1 ton of gold worth, and it shows up as 57 million. So I think maybe 100 million might be closer to 1.5 tons, perhaps. But wow. Here, what's the equation for it? I guess we could do this all night. If there's any mathematicians in the room, maybe you could let us know if we've got our math right. I'd like to know. Okay.
Yeah, but hang on. We're talking Canadian dollars, which are worth squat compared to U.S. dollars, right?
I suppose you were correct. So we could be correct on that too. All right. So you've got a cube that big. It's a ton. We're listing it here at 1.3 tons. So how the hell do you move it?
Well,
how do you move it?
They've got rollers in the aircraft. They probably went into a container. Those containers are probably limited to 1 or 2 tons each. You knew the weight on it. It was probably crated up in a wooden box.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Yeah, somebody is. We are on also with this gold heist. We're not aware of any investigations that are taking place on this. There are no police reports coming out. There's no press releases on this. There's just no information. Like $100 million in gold's gone. Like, sorry, that's all they're saying.
Well, they're saying it's 44,398 troy pounds is 100 million in gold. So they're talking 4,398 troy pounds. What's the difference between a troy pound and a normal pound? I don't know.
No, I don't know either.
Anyways, someone was asking how the Bank of Canada works, if it's the same as the Federal Reserve. Stefanos, did you read up on... I know certain things about the Bank of Canada and how it was sold off to the... the Rothschilds, I believe, right?
I think that was done in the 30s or the 40s at some time. That's when it switched over.
Yeah, and then what happened in 71, 72?
I have no idea, Ed. I've just been simply swamped with legal bullshit lately, so I haven't had a chance to look into any of that stuff.
Anyways, there's a few people that control the Federal Reserve. We know the Federal Reserve, they had... it's a scam, and if anyone cares to read about the creature of Jekyll Island, there's also videos where...
Remember, actually, Ed, people could go to my BitChute channel, my name, KevinJJohnston.com. Go back to, I think it was around September of 2021. We covered all that. It was 3 2-hour shows about money and the Federal Reserve and how it all worked. Because I was very, very adamant on explaining the Federal Reserve, because it's all fiat currency. It truly is. By the way, anybody who's in Ontario who's watching, I have a lawsuit that needs to be served to somebody in Toronto and in Brampton and a couple of other places. Would anybody like to do that and film it? I mean, because we can put that up on the show next time. I mean, I can't obviously go to Ontario because I've got a bail condition here saying I can't leave Alberta. But this lawsuit, somebody owes me $49,500, and I'd like to get it. And I'm pretty sure this particular individual is so arrogant that he's probably not even going to defend this lawsuit, but it still needs to be served. If anybody wants to do that in Ontario, let me know. You can let me know in the chat room right now, or you can also email me up here. That email address, just for the record, everybody, that's not my email address. That goes to the team here at freedomreport.ca, but one of us will get back to you ASAP.
Hey, Curly, if you want to drive down, pick me up. I'll serve it for him. Since me and Ed are here in Ontario, I'll do it. But it was 1934 that the Federal Reserve took over the Bank of Canada in Canada.
More homework for me. Thanks, Stefanos.
Yeah, I know. I got to read up on it too now. I got to do my research now. Yeah, there's 3 people in Brampton, but it's one location. You just got to walk in and hand it to everybody that works there. It's one location in Etobicoke, which is southwest Toronto, and it's 2 people in Mississauga. There we go. So if you want to serve that suit, film it, let me know. Stefanos, if you want to serve it and film it, let me know.
Correction, you don't have to serve everyone. You just need to serve the manager who's in charge.
I know, but it's just so much better to see the tears on everyone's face when you serve court papers. You guys know I used to do it. I used to drag a camera crew with me and so on. I think the best one I ever did is I had this really bizarre clown costume. Yeah, remember the Cat in the hat? Well, I had a bigger version of that where the hat rim was out here and the hat was 3 feet tall and was blue with a big pink flower on it and a trench coat, and I had big buck teeth, and I'd roll around on the ground. And I'd yell out, RV, and I would yell the person's name out in that kind of a voice. And they would say, oh, yeah, that's me. Boom, you've been served court papers. I'm out of here. Right?
I'm sorry for taking the fun out of it, but, that's all there is to it.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that job.
Speaking about fun, if I can just give an event a little bit of a plug.
Yeah, go for
it. Toronto Awake Party. This is for people that have woken up to the truth. Not the woke, people that are awake. Free and single starts at 7 p.m. sharp. This Friday, we've got Chris Kyle will be speaking there. Monique from Independent Journalism will also be there. There'll be a fire show put on by Angela Argentina, ages 21 and up, downtown Toronto. Go to on Instagram, free_n_single. And if you want to buy a ticket, I think it's $70 now, $80 at the door. And you can get a hold of the people at free letter N single dating at gmail.com. Basically just a party get together for like-minded people. If somebody wants to check it out, why not? What else you can do on a Saturday night?
Oh, come on, Ed. No, it's not for just a like-minded. It says free and single. I'm single, girls. Just, email me, call me. Hey, I'm available.
Yeah, Ed, let's do it. Ed's single, ladies. He's single. And he might take his shirt off for you tonight if you reply back saying you're single.
I keep telling you, I got to be drunk. There's got to be money involved.
All right, everyone. So that's pretty much going to be it for now. We're just asking all of you in the game of ignorance to correct the misnomer on that definition. Ignorant does not mean rude or crass or vile. Ignorance simply means unknowing. You don't know something. So when someone says you're ignorant, it just means you don't know about that particular subject. Yeah. Like one of the phrases I always liked is the ignorant will give select names to their ignorance. That's fine. Whatever they want to call it. Oh, I'm tired. I didn't know. That's what I was told. That's what I heard. Yeah. don't use excuses. Just say, yeah, you know what? I didn't read up on it. I shouldn't have spoken out. And then learn something for yourselves. You don't want to be ignorant of the world around you. You don't want to be ignorant on how the world works, how money works, how the law works, how any of these things work. You really do need to be fully armed until such time as you can afford to leave Canada and retire on a beach somewhere for the rest of your life. And we'll keep you posted on what countries are going to be the best for that. Because Ed already started, didn't you? You went to Mexico. Is it a good place to go?
If you like the heat, I'd say yes. Food's good. In the area where I was, the locals were quite nice, quite polite. Family values. It was nice seeing lots of young families. So,
Okay. What's the next country you're going to tour?
actually, I'm thinking about heading over to Europe because there's a lot of protests that are not being covered in the mainstream media.
I saw the French, they lit a bus on fire and then they let the bus roll on its own down the road. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm wondering if is it Antifa doing that, or is it people on the right doing that, or who's doing that?
Ed, in France, at the beginning of all this stuff, with the yellow vest movement and everything, France had actually got Antifa to be their police, basically, because the police had laid down their arms against the people. Now, the funny thing is, with the recent protests that I've been watching, Antifa is with the people and against the police. So it seems like they've turned against their handlers. So it's all over the place. You name it.
I don't know. It bothers me that we can't get to the truth, and then I'd like to actually find out, or if I can get someone on the show for next week from Hungary, so we can get the truth of what's actually going down there, because it's also a language barrier. True?
Yeah, Dan. I think, Dan, you're still in the room. You're Hungarian. Do you have any family? Listen, anyone, you got family in Hungary, let us know. We wouldn't mind getting somebody on the phone or on the show to tell us what the political climate is in Hungary. There's no point guessing. Let's just go straight to the people.
And it'd be nice to see real men from Hungary, because they know the difference between right and wrong. They haven't bought in on all this leftist crap.
No, they have not.
All right, guys.
Well, that's it for now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate that. Stefanos, we'll see you in a week, brother. Take care.
Hang on.
Oh, Ed always does this. We're going to leave. Hang on. What's up, Ed?
We need money for your appeal. Give it a plug,
We certainly
please.
do. I have to put the appeal in this week, no matter what. So if anybody does want to donate to the cause, you know that the courts saw fit to ban me for life from speaking about AHS in the province of Alberta, which means, and they wrote a new tort law with that. So that means any government agency or employee is going to be able to sue any of you for defamation and harassment, and they'll probably win. So we got to appeal this collectively. If anybody does want to make a donation, you can do so right here, freedomreport.ca@gmail.com, or go to my personal website, KevinJJohnston.ca, and donate there, because that appeal must go in, and I have to argue it well. And, well, as clever as I am, I'm still not a lawyer, and we need a lawyer to really make sure that we stick it to them. I want to win this thing because we must.
And I got the ball rolling, guys. What did that disclosure cost me? I paid for that, right?
The disclosure for
Not
which
the
case?
disclosure, the court transcripts.
Oh, of course. Yeah, your credit card got zapped for $385.
Okay, so guys, I played my little part. $5,
Yes.
please.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. I do appreciate you flipping the bill for that. I mean, amazing. You want to appeal a bad court decision, and you got to pay $385 just to get the transcripts. It's like I'm not allowed to record them myself. It's absolutely unbelievable. But that's it. We're not going to cry about it. We're just going to get our heads together here and fight it. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Kevin J. Johnston Show, running every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Calgary time, 9 p.m. Toronto time, at freedomreport.ca. We're on Rumble, D-Live, Facebook. We're all over the place. We do indeed love seeing you all here. Thank you for being here. I love you all, and good night.
It's romance the devil.
I rose from the darkest places. I've seen so many faces. Well, powers manipulate us to fight in separation. We've gone through the highs and lows. Blame games are what we're sold. Gut punching lies we're told. Manipulation. Sticks of power cower down. When woken people raise the sounds. Heroes rising, fighting back. We won't be taken over. Suppressing what we need to know. Tell us no and watch us grow. We'll unite and build some more. Rise to revolution. Rise.
Try to view that this music's a gift from Satan, but usually just a tool that is used for manipulation. Okay, picking for idiots and critics are mad at me, cause I'm revealing religion is a spirituality. I'm not just cursing for the perfect vision, but I'm just showing you that they are just imperfect wisdom. Okay, well your medulla is screwed to Illuminati. These losers are really moving, consuming your human body with evil manipulation. I see that it's just degrading, they patient, cause they controlling your fears. Things like race have been socially engineered. Brother loving suckers are nothing but demons. What's redundant is the government's becoming misleading, and they blood suckers and they double your freedoms. They want to control your ability to be objective. That's why you really gotta be selective.
Sticks of power cower down. When woken people raise the sounds. Heroes rising, fighting back. We won't be taken over. Suppressing what we need to know. Tell us no and watch us grow. We'll unite and build some more. Rise to revolution. Rise.
You need to know